Hello everyone, and welcome to the Course Notebooks lecture. A quick note, you should go to the resource section of this lecture for the link to the course note. There will be two links, one to the nbviewer.ipython.org link to the notebooks, and then also one to the direct GitHub repository link. I suggest you always check out the nbviewer.ipython.org first, because it looks a lot cleaner and loads faster. But in case that one goes down, when it does go down, it's because there's too many people using it. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened in the past. Then you can go ahead and go straight to GitHub, which is almost never down. With that being said, go ahead and click the NB Viewer link, and it'll take you to the resource section for the course notebooks. I'm going to go ahead and jump to that now. Alright everyone, we're here at the nbviewer.ipython.org link for the courses repository for all the notebooks. The other link will take you to the GitHub, which is in this tab here. As you notice, there's a lot more going on here, and it's not as pretty, so I always suggest checking out nbviewer.ipython.org first. Also, the notebooks tend to load much faster on this website versus on GitHub. But notebooks can be rendered on both nbviewer and GitHub. So let's go ahead and go over what an example would look like for a particular lecture in the course. Let's say you're in the linked lists section of the course. You would just go ahead and click the folder that is named after that section, and you'll see IPython notebooks or Jupyter notebooks that are IPYNB files. These are notebooks that are associated with a lecture of the same name. So if you have a lecture such as linked list overview, which is basically the first lecture in that section of the course, which does a very quick overview of what we're doing, you should get this brief notebook, and if you click on it, you'll get this notebook, which is just a brief overview of the topics we cover in this course. For more technical lectures, if you go back here, maybe we do a double linked list implementation. You can go ahead and click that. I'll open it in a new tab. And you'll see here where we have comments and all the example code that we go over in the video. So if you're feeling more advanced of a programmer, or you already know a topic pretty well, then you can just go ahead and check out the notebook, run through it. If you have any questions, then you can go ahead and check out the video where I explain every line of the code and code it out with you. Alright, let's go ahead and jump back. Here we are. A quick note, some notebooks that are associated with a lecture, where the lecture doesn't have a lot to do with code but more on theory. If you click that, for instance the doubly linked lists lecture, you'll notice it'll say refer to the video lecture for the full explanation. So the reason for that is we don't really do a lot of coding in that lecture, and it's really a bunch of figures that are hard to put in a Jupyter Notebook format. So if you ever see this, you should definitely refer to the video lecture for the full information on that topic. Let's go ahead and close these. So again, here is the GitHub repository. If this link is ever down, this NB Viewer link, which you should favorite, by the way, then you can just go ahead and go to the GitHub link, and this should almost never be down, and you'll get the same thing. So if we go to linked lists here, then we click, for instance, on double linked list implementation, you'll notice it takes a little longer to load, but it'll still render, and you can get it here. One thing to note, in case you're interested in downloading the notebooks, you can always just go to a notebook, for instance, double linked lists here, or double linked list implementation, and click the download button here. So you also have a link to the direct GitHub, but if you click this rightmost link, let me go ahead and zoom in on it. So you get this drop down, you'll get a download notebook if you're really zoomed in. It looks like this. Let's go ahead and zoom back out. It's right here, top corner, just left click, and you should be downloading a .ipynb file. Put that wherever you're storing the rest of your notebooks, and then you should be able to see it when you start the Jupyter Notebook server. If you want to check out that particular Jupyter Notebook in GitHub, you can click the GitHub link here. I'll go ahead and open it in a new tab, and it will take you to this right here, which is that same notebook just rendered on GitHub. One quick note, you should really be using Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. I highly suggest Chrome. This rendering of notebooks and just Jupyter Notebooks by themselves don't tend to work well in Internet Explorer or other browsers. So just keep that in mind. One last note is if you're interested in downloading all the notebooks for the entire repo, you can go ahead and click back to the original link, click here on GitHub, or View on GitHub. It's this little Octocat. And you click it, it'll take you to this page right here, and you can click Download Zip. And that will allow you to download a zip of all the folders and files. Keep in mind, we may be adding new stuff in the future, so you may have to re-download. I suggest you just download as you need them, or copy and paste from the notebooks themselves. Let's go ahead and go back for one quick note. You'll notice that there's interview problems for almost every section of the course, at least all the technical sections. If you click here, there's a subfolder for each section labeled that section's name and then interview problems. So right now we're in the linked lists section of the course. We have the lectures that go over the theory and the notebooks that correspond to those. And then we have the interview problems. So if I click on this folder, it'll take us to two folders. One will be the problems themselves, and another will be the solutions. You can go ahead and click the interview problems, and then click on, let's say, the first one, implement a doubly linked list, and you'll get a for this interview problem, basically the problem statement, implement a node class, and show blah, 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 how to create a doubly linked list. In pretty much all of the interview problem notebooks, if it makes sense, you can test your solution. In this case, it didn't make sense because it would basically give away the answer structure. But let's go ahead and check one that actually has a test cell for your solution. So we're going to go back here. And we're going to go to the array section of the course. So here we're at array sequences. We're at Python for data algorithms, data structures, and interviews. I click array sequences. Again, I have notebooks that correspond to all the theory lectures. And if I click here on array sequences interview questions, I'll get two similar folders, the solutions and the questions themselves. Let's go ahead and click the questions. And here's the first one, anagram check. So you're given a problem statement, and you'll be asked to fill out your solution below. Just keep in mind, you may get special notes or requirements on certain problems. You fill out your solution below. There may be examples of what it should look like. So for instance, for this anagram, dog and God should say true, since those are anagrams. Clint Eastwood and Old West Action, these strings are also anagrams, so they should be true. You'll learn more about this later on in the array sequence. But what I want to get to here is there will be a test your solution section. So once you've actually filled out your solution here in this function, you can run this cell to test your solution. It'll give you all test cases pass, and that way you can test to see if your solution's working without having to jump to the entire solution and essentially cheating yourself of figuring it out on your own. Alright, so if we go back and check out what the solution looks like, let's go back one more. We can click on the solutions folder, click anagram check solution. So solution is pretty much always in all caps, just to make sure you don't accidentally click on solution ever. Here we have the anagram solution. You'll have the same problem statement, but you'll notice there's some explanation as to what we do in the solution, and then there's also code for it. I'll go ahead and hide that real quickly since you will have to do this interview problem later on. We'll go ahead and go back. So a quick note, we always go over the entire solution in the video lecture. So in case you don't understand the notebook explanation, I will explain it line by line in the video solution lecture. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so one quick note, going back to this interview notebook and the interview problem notebook, I really want to make sure you guys all understand how to run and test your solutions. So in the next lecture, what we're actually going to be doing is creating our own example interview notebook. Alright, so I'll see you at the next lecture. We're going to create an example interview notebook. This next lecture is optional, but I do recommend you check it out so you fully understand how to use these interview notebooks. Alright, thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.